So it is Tuesday. It is mid-October. And we've got a very exciting week ahead. In the next 7 days, we're going to be having a new goat, new pigs, new chickens, and new ducks. So, in order, tomorrow we've got our stud goat coming. That is going to basically breed our girls. That's Wednesday. And then I think at the weekend we have 2 boars coming. They're going to be boar weaners, which are basically piglets that have been weaned from mum. And then I'm not sure when, but one evening this week we've got 10 new hens that I'm going to collect to add to our flock. And we've also got a pair of ducks coming. Now, we've had ducks in the past. I love ducks. I've always wanted ducks. And same with geese, I want them both. We've had geese before, and we just kind of ebb and flow with them. They're a little bit of mess. They're a little bit of work. Just because it's a different animal, they need a different setup to chickens or whatever. So, but we've got a good plan now because we've got the space. We've got the area that we got in the wood that is fenced off. That's currently got those 2 meat birds in. Well, that's only got 2 birds in, and it's a huge space. So we're going to put the ducks in there. And what we're probably going to do is breed them for meat. So we've got 2 ducks coming. And that's all going to be happening in the next 7 days. So I'm very, very excited. Today, this evening, it's usual stuff for me, all the animal feeding and what have you. So the goats are dried up now. There's no milking to do. And hopefully, if everything goes to plan, this will be our last winter of no milking. We'll be able to milk right through next year. Because, that was the plan this year, but we had that udder infection on the goat that we were going to milk through. So, so we've got to feed the girls, and then I've got quite a lot of mushroom preserving to do. I've got a huge hoard of honey fungus, which I showed you yesterday, that I've got to dry and preserve, and I've also got a couple of other species, got some parasol mushrooms and some puffballs that I want to either cook or preserve some way. So I'm going to get around and do my jobs now. You all right, girls? You ready? They're ready for feeding. So I'm going to feed these girls, and then we'll get around everyone else. So we've got our 2 boars coming. Like I said, I think they're coming at the weekend, but they're definitely coming in the next 7 days or so. And they're going to be tiny little piglets. So when they first come, I say tiny little piglets, they're going to be a few weeks old. So they're going to be, strong animals. But when they first come, I'm going to have to just watch out for fighting. Now, we have got a ridiculous amount of space here. We've got a ridiculous amount of food here, and I'm able to spread the food around and make it so that, there's no reason at all for these guys to feel territorial. But until they get established, we will have to just keep an eye on them. But there's enough space here that we'll be okay. There's also enough shelters in here. But basically, we are just waiting for the weather now, and it won't be long. So I'm thinking within the next month, certainly, but maybe even within the next couple of weeks, we'll be harvesting that pig at the end, and it's just going to leave this girl here. Now, the cycle will be the boars that come. It's just going to be 2 boars, and when they get to around this size, we will also harvest one of those, and then that's going to leave us with a breeding pair. And at that point, we're not going to need to buy in our pork anymore. We're going to be producing our own here, and we're actually going to be producing a huge surplus. So we're going to be able to sell some piglets. Getting big, strong girls. So so that's our new boars, our new pigs coming for the wood. Very exciting. We've not had our own piglets before, so that will be another learning curve. From what I do know, they are really easy to go through that process with. They don't need a lot of attention, and obviously I'll do a little bit more research in the run up, but yeah, it's going to be really exciting, really interesting. So piglets are in our future, and I'm really quite keen for this temperature to drop now, because we have got 2 pork chops in the fridge. That's it. Then we're out of pork, and we're actually running quite low on meat, full stop. So long story, but basically back in when we last slaughtered and butchered goats was, I believe, back in March. No, before then. Must have been February or sometime in the winter. Anyway, the point is, I had a full freezer. I had too much in my freezer, so I used some of my nan's freezer space, and basically I've got a whole goat in my nan's freezer. Okay, that's the point. And because of this whole pandemic issue, and my nan is 93 or 94, so to say that she's vulnerable is an understatement. And we basically, we haven't been to visit my nan. We've been to visit her and spoke through the window, and we speak regularly on the iPad. We FaceTime, because my uncle set her up with an iPad at the start of this pandemic, and she's incredibly vulnerable. So we are running very low on meat, and I've got a full goat's worth of meat in my nan's freezer that I can't do anything about. There you go. All right, love. My wife's just collecting the eggs. Okay. So my goats have found their way into the bin with all the bread in that's stored for the hens. So that's had to be moved. Oh, she's having another go now. Look. All right, cheeky. You've all been fed, apparently. So tomorrow they'll be getting their new boyfriend, and I'll make sure that I include you guys in his arrival. And then so I've really struggled, for whatever reason, to find a male goat this year. Last year there were several available. This year there just hasn't been. So we're a month later than I would like. I would have liked to have had a male in here about 4 weeks ago, because then we'd be kidding at the tail end of February, which is perfect, whereas we're about a month late. So it's going to be the tail end of March before we're kidding, really. It's a 5-month gestation period for goats. The new chickens, they're going to be more of the same. They're just to go in with our 2 big flocks there, because they're just to restock really the numbers of ones that we've lost through old age or illness or whatever this year. And then finally the ducks. So someone that my wife works with, her, I don't know, daughter, niece, some relative has got a pair of ducks that they wanted to get rid of, and I can't remember the breed, but they're a biggish duck, and they needed rehoming, so we're getting those free as well, and really excited about that. I love ducks, always liked ducks, and having a breeding pair where we're going to be able to take those eggs and incubate them and basically breed duck meat. That's plan A at the moment. We haven't really given it a lot of thought, so this is all subject to change when my wife and I sit down and really think about it. But all we know for sure is we're going to be having some ducks, and we're going to be having some duck eggs. And what we do with them, who knows at this point, but I think plan A is to breed them. So that brings you up to speed with our animals. Next up, I've got to process quite a lot of mushrooms. In here we've got some stump puffballs, because there wasn't a lot about, or at least I didn't think. I don't normally bother with these, but because there wasn't a lot else around, I harvested some stump puffballs. We've got a couple of slender parasols. These are a relation of your regular parasol mushrooms and shaggy parasols, but they're much smaller. And then we've got this giant haul. I'll try and do it justice. This giant haul of honey fungus. and they really are a tasty edible. So I'm going to be slicing these up and getting them in the dehydrator, or at least most of them, the ones that I'm not going to eat fresh. That's the only thing with foraging for mushrooms. It is a bit feast or famine, and it's really important for me that I save what I can. I cooked a giant beef Wellington at the weekend, and it was giant. So it's already fed 10 adults, and it's still this giant piece left, and all of that stuffing around the outside is wild mushrooms. So I purposely went and used up quite a lot of our dried mushrooms from last year to make room for this year, really, just stock rotation. But it does mean that I've got a fair amount of mushroom drying in my future. And I have to say, it is and was delicious. Just the mushrooms. A little tip for you. If you're someone who... If you're someone who dries a lot of mushrooms, when you rehydrate them, what we do is we just pour boiling water over them, let them sit for maybe 20 minutes, and then cook them like normal. And that water, let me see if I can find it. Rather than pouring it away, I hope I haven't frozen it. I may have already frozen it. No, there it is. Makes an incredible mushroom stock. So this is mushroom stock from the rehydration of those mushrooms that are in that beef Wellington. And so full of flavour, and that will make a fantastic, if I choose to go that way with it, it'll make a fantastic mushroom sauce or a mushroom soup. If I want to make soup, that's the stock I could use as the base, and it's just got so much flavour. So there you go, that's me, that's where we're at today, and I will speak to you all very soon.